Everyone. Everyone can take their seats. We're going to start the evening off with a pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance. Before we get started, I just want to kind of overview what the purpose of this evening is. And I have to say, you've exceeded our expectations in terms of the number of people that we thought would show up. Basically 2 weeks before Christmas, and I'm sure you have other things that you could be doing this evening, but it looks like that whenever we serve food, you'll come to a meeting. So maybe we'll start doing that going forward. Anyway, so maybe just touch base. I want to do an overview of the project. So this started, the planning board was interested in creating what I'll call it downtown. And then the county came in and said, hey, we're going to be redoing New Jersey Avenue. So if you didn't know, Crest Avenue down to Rambler Road is a county road. So if it's going to be under construction, perhaps if we marry up the downtown idea with county reconstruction of the roadway, now's the time that we need to start focusing on that. This project, and I'm sure you're going to hear later today, it's about 2 years away. So, but it takes a lot of work to get to the point where it's actually a finished product. So, whenever you're working with another entity such as the county, a lot of the professionals, such as, and even just getting all of your inputs. And tonight's meeting is what we're calling the stakeholder meeting. Stakeholder is somebody that has a vested interest, especially the folks that are going to be on New Jersey Avenue, and also the folks on the side streets. But really, if you're a taxpayer, business owner, or what have you, you're really a stakeholder. So I really do appreciate on behalf of everybody that you all come out tonight just to learn more information about the project. So we're gonna go through the presentation, and then we're gonna, if you have a question, I want you to raise your hand at the end, and then one of the professionals or myself or somebody will be able to answer that question. Before I start, I just want to do a quick introduction. I'm going to start to my right and work to myself. We have Mike Zampino from Triad Associates, Scott Taylor from Taylor Design Group, Paul Sanko from T&M Associates, Bon Church, who is the county engineer, Ron Galzunas is the Wildwood Crest solicitor, and Dave Thompson, also on the governing body with myself, and Commissioner Gould, who could be with us here this evening. So that being said, I just wanted to just do a quick overview of the project. I hope you had a chance to look at, so this side is conceptual vision of what we're looking at in what I'll call the Crest. I'm going to refer to it as the Crest Station because I'm kind of in love with that name, but it's not my decision. But really, if you didn't know the history, Wildwood Crest used to have a train station right there on New Jersey Avenue. So, maybe it would be a good opportunity if you paid particular attention to some of the detail and some of the concepts. You saw with the Crest logo a picture of a train. So some of the design elements, perhaps when it comes to fruition, is that it could have some of that historical aspect of Wildwood Crest. I know a lot of folks think that the history is not important, but I think it's important that we preserve certain nostalgic pieces of Wildwood Crest and its history. So in that, and on the side over there are the details of the county plan. So this is so you may think that this is just like, hey, this is an easy project. It's really not, because you're talking about asphalt, you're talking about sewer, you're talking about stormwater, you're talking about sidewalks, you're talking about landscaping, you're talking about lights and banners and crosswalks and pedestrians and traffic signals and all that. So all of those details have to come into play now. And how do people get there? Where do they park? Are they going to come by bike? Are they come by foot? All of that. So anyway, so that's that. And I just, I believe that it's important as a community to have vision. I think selfishly, and I'm sure all of you agree, Wildwood Crest has the best beaches, the best accommodations, hotels, motels, condominiums, single-family homes, the best open spaces, the best recreational facilities, the best staff, the best of everything in Cape May County. What we're missing is that small little downtown. I said, hey, let's go get a cup of coffee. Let's go grab something to eat. Let's go grab a drink. Let's go just, we can't. Where are we sending our business? Outside, where our borders. So that's the fundamental question you all have to ask yourselves tonight and going forward is, what kind of community do we want to be? It's incumbent upon the governing body and all of our volunteer boards and our professionals to put ideas in front of you. And you'll say, yes, I like it. No, I don't. I like this, but change this. And that's where we are right now. We're putting ideas in front of you. We know the county's going to come in and redo the road. We're going to get one opportunity to make this right. I'll be dead and gone, and people will still be enjoying this. So think about the future. Don't think for the now. Think forward. That said, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Scott Taylor from Taylor Design Group.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. We'll try that again. Good evening, everybody. This is a stakeholder participation meeting, so you will all get a chance to talk and an opportunity. As the Mayor indicated, my name is Scott Taylor. I'm with Taylor Design Group. We're a planning and landscape architecture firm. We're headquartered in Mount Laurel. We do work throughout New Jersey and majority of counties. Most locally here, over the last 18 years, we've been the planners and landscape architects for the Borough of Avalon. We've done the streetscape and a number of civic projects there over the years. We've also done quite a bit of work for Ocean City. Can everybody hear me? You need a little more mic?
I forgot to tell everybody, we're streaming live on the internet, so the curse will.
So now I feel like Wayne Newton. So we have done a lot of downtown revitalization and economic development, and we were particularly excited about the opportunity to be called. Our office has been working with the planning board and some of the master plan vision about trying to create a downtown vision here. We know, and I'm going to draw several parallels through this discussion to some of the work that we did in Avalon, because it presents, I think, a very important and poignant case study in what some reinvestment, when it's done properly in a downtown, can do. And we're at a point now where the master plans for the municipality, dating back for decades, have talked about the importance of creating buoyancy and economic vibrancy within the downtown, trying to capture that economic dollar, as the mayor indicated, for both residents and for visitors, to have those amenities as part of the downtown quality of life. Not only does that raise the values of those commercial properties, the values of residential properties in those towns that have great downtowns are also higher. We don't have to go any further than to look at Cape May, Stone Harbor, Avalon, Collingswood, Haddonfield, Princeton. There are dozens throughout the state of New Jersey. And there's a formula. If you invest in your downtown gets stronger. And so does the rest of your town. So do those residential areas surrounding because of that quality of life. This younger generation that we're seeing coming in, and I'm a senior at this point, may not look like it, but you're standing far away from it. This younger generation, when they vacation, they want to eat outdoors. They want to have a more vibrant lifestyle, rooftop decks, things that my parents and others really, we want to sit inside a restaurant. There's sort of a different quality of life and a different standard of how people vacation and how they use downtowns, and kids wanting to move back into cities and into those sort of urban or urban-esque areas. So as the mayor indicated, there is a once in a multiple generational opportunity here to capitalize on the incredible investment that the county is going to be doing in reconstructing the street. We know that we have several elements and key components to make a downtown successful. One is it has to be safe. It has to truly be safe for pedestrians and make pedestrians feel safe. We don't have that condition right now. This is a very vehicle-dominated downtown. Some of those things that we're going to try to do through traffic calming, through street trees, and through some physical improvements are going to try to change that approach to make this be more pedestrian and bicycle oriented. That will do a couple of things. One, it will slow cars down. When those cars slow down, they actually look at businesses and they're more likely to visit those businesses. The second thing it does is it makes those people on the crosswalks or on their bicycles feel more comfortable. And if you don't feel comfortable in downtown, you're not going to spend very much time there, and you're going to take your dollars somewhere else where you do feel more comfortable. Another component of that is just creating that unique sense of placemaking. It has to be somewhere fun. It has to be somewhere that you want to go and get a cup of coffee and sit there. And that involves having visual interest. It involves having some shade, having sunny opportunities, so when we get some of those nice sunny spring days, you've got some areas where you can get some sun. In September, you want to try to find some shade. So what we've done as part of this process, as the mayor indicated, we were going through and coming up with recommendations at the planning board level for some modifications to the zoning, some design standards, trying to do some things to try to stimulate investment in the properties. One of the other problems, one is you need to have good businesses and have pretty good and interesting architecture. It's not just about having fancy brick sidewalks or decorative lights. Downtown Princeton, the majority of their sidewalks are actually just regular concrete. And no one realizes that. Everyone thinks it's a great downtown, but part of that is because there's vibrancy in the architecture. So there's a number of things to be able to make this effective to try to get folks, including the residents and visitors and families from some of the surrounding communities, to come here and have dinner, support, have more fudge shops and more little local retail and service-oriented businesses as an amenity. So, as the mayor indicated, the main area that we're looking at from a streetscape visioning standpoint goes from Columbine, and the batteries on my laser pointer just died today, so I'm going to go way old school and use a car antenna, as Connie, I think, called it. So we are going here from Columbine all the way down to Heather, we know that we have the core of Crest Station, potentially, in this area between Sweetbriar and Astor. You can see on this map that we actually have that wide right-of-way, and that is a result of where almost identical to the downtown core at the Circle in Avalon at 21st Street. You can see Avalon's is actually a little bit wider. So this is a really nice thing to have in a downtown, and it's a really horrible thing to have in a downtown, because when you leave the crosswalk to try to get to the other side, you've got a pretty significant distance to get there. It makes kids, makes pedestrians feel exposed, not very safe feeling. And physically, it's not safe. So that gives the vehicles sort of dominance in those areas. The other thing is we do have some narrow sidewalks, not a lot of opportunity for outdoor festivals, displays, things to try to bring folks in. They're trying to create some civic space in those downtowns. So some of those major objectives are create a safe, pedestrian-friendly, mixed-use destination for residents and visitors and their families. Implement what's known as complete streets, trying to accommodate pedestrians and bicycles and public transit where appropriate, in appropriate locations, and again, to create that non-vehicle dominated streetscape. The other thing that's really good about trying to change some of that dominance away from vehicular and back to folks walking and on bikes is, by carrying dedicated bicycle lanes through here, and by having good bike parking in a majority of this area, we know, and the statistics prove this out, bicycle ridership will go up tremendously. A bike only takes up a few square feet. So everybody that rides their bike here is actually going to free up parking spaces for everybody. So there's really an advantage of multiple prongs of how we address this. We know that parking is always an issue in any downtown, compounded by the fact that you're on a resort, Barrier Island in New Jersey, in a densely populated state. So we know that formula, and that every parking space is going to be critical. Part of the design and what we're working on now with this vision and working with the county is, where can we maximize, take that back, how do we minimize the loss of parking? How do we offset that? How do we mitigate that? And we do it in a number of ways. Part of that is going to be try to increase bicycle ridership, have a lot of good bike parking, and we know we can rely on more pedestrianism as well. Locating driveways, trying to look at closing off unused depressed curbs and trying to pick up some free spaces, and we've all seen those throughout this downtown and a lot of others. There's a piece of depressed curb where maybe there's one car worth of parking, but you could have gotten 3 on the street. We see them in residential areas a lot. We try to find those efficiencies to pick up spaces where we can and try to minimize that loss through the design. I'll get to the fun, attractive landscaping stuff in a second, but this is why we're doing all of that. We talked about the other objectives. Employ traffic calming to reduce speeds. That increases the economic strength of those retail businesses. And to develop a unique and unified design theme. The town was very clear when we came in, let's create a unique identity that says we are the Crest. We don't want red brick and a black bench and a black acorn light like all of those other sort of traditional downtowns. We want something that's a little different. We want something that says the Crest. We played a little bit off of the colors of the logo and some of the other forms of town. I'll touch on some of the design in a second. So creating that unique sense of identity creates some of that visual interest. That gets employed in wayfinding signage, in street art, signage kiosks, the colors of benches and picnic tables, all to create some of that vibrancy. Those things that we like when we go to resort towns or even resort communities in different places. They understand the formula. We need to try to compete with those other municipalities for that resort dollar and try to bring those folks back into the Crest. So when we talk about the design, we're doing a couple of things. One, we know, and I'll take the widened area, or actually any standard block, looking to do and start that traffic calming and sort of that sense of arrival into the downtown at the intersections. We're providing bump outs at the intersections. That allows pedestrians to reduce the area that they're exposed by 16 feet. That can be upwards of 10% or 15% of the exposed distance. We're also proposing a planted traffic calming center island. What we found in a lot of places, especially in Avalon, does several things. One, if you cross halfway and there are cars coming, it provides a little bit of a safe refuge because we realize not everyone does actually stop for pedestrians in the crosswalk, as we're all aware. The other thing that this does is it creates some visual interest, and by having that canopy, it tightens the street down. There are studies that bear this out, that by having that tighter feel, it actually will reduce vehicular speeds along that roadway because they feel more constricted. If you build very wide lanes and very wide open roads, the motorists have more of a tendency to speed and go faster along those roadways. So planted central island for interest. By also doing and we're looking at and trying to work with the county of whether or not we can also do bump outs on the side streets. We have to make sure we accommodate buses and other larger turning vehicles, that we may be able to do some routing options. But to create these as sort of nice nodes with some textured decorative crosswalks. The other thing that does, gives a visual cue. This is a pedestrian ground, there's a change in sidewalk here. If we can get a little bit of texture to it, it creates a little bit of rumble. People know that, they feel that, they will slow down when they start to approach those crosswalks, even if there's not a pedestrian in the crosswalks. When we get into the actual design itself, we're looking at trying to create, and we talked about that economic vibrancy. Avalon had a little bit of a different scenario where at the Circle, they had Veterans Plaza in the middle. And that has really become a center of civic activity. That's where they have festivals, that's where they have music on Friday and Thursday and Friday evenings in the summer, and it brings hundreds of people to the downtown. They watch a small performance, they have some small festivals, and trying to refocus some of that growth into that area. We have a great opportunity within this area between Sweetbriar and Astor where we have that excessively wide right-of-way, and in discussions with the county, trying to create an area that can be a downtown promenade or a downtown pedestrian mall where we can have areas that can be accommodating for tents or small festivals or small group activities. There's even obviously opportunities that these could, one block could be closed off and this could be created for a fall festival or a seafood festival. Again, trying to bring folks into the downtown, especially in the shoulder seasons, and then that helps the businesses. That's what we've seen a lot of barrier islands and a lot of downtowns. Even the town I live in, Medford, which has a very cute little downtown, the businesses were languishing. They have food truck Thursday nights in the off-peak season, and it brings folks in and it sort of helps the businesses. So trying to come up with a multifaceted approach to try to stimulate some growth and investment in the downtown. With that wide right-of-way, we've come up with sort of a curvilinear approach that plays off of the wave and the ocean form that's within the Crest logo. And there's some raised seating areas. We've also done some nautical blue fixtures and a wave bike rack and some other features to try to draw on that nautical, eclectic atmosphere that we have and that design vocabulary of some of your other parks. Try to tie all of those things together so it looks, and that sense of branding helps people identify and they know, hey, I'm in the Crest. I see these blue features, I see the Crest station logo, I see this certain bench or these colored tables. I know I'm not in Wildwood, North Wildwood, or Stone Harbor. Helps with that branding. One of the things that we know that we are going to be losing a few parking spaces in that area, in particular between Sweetbriar and Astor. One of the things that we're looking at is As we create these bump outs that extend up, we may be able to pick up one additional parallel parking space on all the side streets in that area. Initial estimates might be that we could lose 1 or 2 parking spaces per block in this downtown area. It could end up being anywhere from 6 to perhaps 14 spaces at the end of the day. Now, one of the things that the governing body has looked into, and some of you may have seen this at the meeting last month, was the purchase of property at New Jersey and Wisteria for the construction of a 20-space parking lot. That 20-space parking lot should more than offset any potential reduction in the amount of on-street parallel spaces that are lost, or the angle spaces that are lost within the downtown. Again, trying to create that balance without creating too much surface parking. In real vibrant downtowns, there's a downside to having too much parking, because for every extra lot that you purchase and then put parking on it, you're actually taking land area away from what could be a thriving economic business. So this is a first step, creating one area to offset what might be lost. We would caution the town about going too far and creating more parking, because you actually reduce the economic viability. It's important for there to be critical mass here. By having a handful of good businesses in close proximity, those synergies work, because somebody goes to the downtown looking for a t-shirt or a glass. They didn't think they wanted fudge, but next thing I know, I'm in the fudge shop buying fudge, as I shouldn't, but I am. So those synergies are a good thing. That also has enough right-of-way that we can have some information on the signage kiosks there. We can even do a restroom trailer building as another comfort station and amenity for the residents in that area. And that would become a really sort of an anchor. We do have an opportunity with this wide right-of-way, again, between Sweetbriar and Astor, that there could be a lease or license area that could be associated with any of those businesses that front on that area, that there could be a more significant outdoor dining component to that. We know that that's an enormous trend. We're even seeing it at Five Guys and Panera Bread and a lot of quick service restaurants and other uses where people want to eat outdoors. We think it's important. It's a good element of the downtown anywhere, and we think that it works particularly well here on Barrier Island, especially during peak season. We're showing a number of things that all good towns have. We want to have some plantings, we want to have shade, we want to have color and vibrancy and umbrellas and make this a safe and comfortable place. The more time that people want to spend here, the more they feel safe, the more likely they are to frequent this area. That bolsters economic viability. That does several things. That will increase the economic viability of those businesses, it will raise the land value of those businesses, and ultimately raise the land values of those residents within that immediate area. Again, this was an initial vision plan that was done in response to the county starting to move forward with their engineering plans. We're here for feedback, good and bad, of whether the benches should be blue or they should be pink and purple, and get some of that feedback after T&M has a chance to talk about theirs, but we'll give everybody a chance for some of that feedback and suggestions at the end of the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to turn it over to Cape May County. Who wants to go first? Engineer Bob? All right.
Good evening. My name is Bob Church. I'm the county engineer. With me is Paul Senko. He's the consultant that actually did the design plans for the road construction project that we're looking at. Just to give you an overview of what the county's doing in the Crest, we have a couple big projects planned. One is Pacific Avenue. That project's going to, in all likelihood, be bid in fall 2020. and we are expecting an award sometime in January and start construction in March of 2021. That project will last until the spring prior to the seasonal shutdown, and then continue the construction of that to completion, which at this point is anticipated to be December of 2021. Now that Pacific Avenue project is a federal aid project. We have about $2.1 million in federal aid accounted for that, and any shortfall will be made up to county funds or to our state ATP fund. So that's a real project with a real deadline. Federal aid process, we absolutely have to meet those deadlines, so it is something that you want to see occurring in the very near future. That project is going to run from Wildwood all the way down to Madison Avenue in Wildwood Township. So that's the first project we have down there. And the second one is the one that we're talking about tonight. This actually started out just as a road project, basically a resurfacing project, drainage, new curb, sidewalk, gutter. And we sort of morphed into a road diet, a traffic calming aspect. So that's basically what we're discussing tonight is the traffic calming effect of reducing 2 through lanes to 1 through lane, to having a center turning lane now to a median that basically is a more structured turning maneuver, and to also have bicyclists and pedestrian safety enhancements. What wasn't discussed yet is the fact that all the traffic signals along this corridor are also going to be upgraded. That's actually a separate project from this project. It's also a federal aid project. What we're trying to do is time that so it runs concurrently with this contract. That's the ideal thing to do with something like that. And basically what that's going to be is an upgrade to all the traffic signals, pedestrian access, ADA access along the corridor, and the signal can be synchronized and coordinated so it'll be a better situation for motorists, less queuing and waiting. It's sort of a challenge though because some of the improvements that are proposed as part of this project we can't move forward on with the traffic signal because of where we're going to look at these signal bases. So there's been ongoing dialogue between T&M and also the other consultant GPI, as well as the South Jersey Transportation Planning Organization and the NJDP, who are heavily funding that. So that's a county challenge. We're trying to work out the timing on that as well, but our hope is that we can work both these projects concurrently, either as one contract or 2 contracts that will occur at the same time. As far as the timing of the road diet project, we're probably looking at possibly starting this project in September of 2022. Now, a lot of things have to come together. There's have to be permitting, obviously financing, and things like that. But that's our earliest window where we're looking at getting started because of the Pacific Avenue project that will be occurring for that. What we didn't want to do is have 2 projects running at the same time because of traffic detour issues and things like that. Because that's going to give the borough time to, the borough time to get their utilities in and upgrade their systems before we pay. Because typically when we do a project like this, or any road project, there's a 5-year moratorium on any utility installation, so you're not ripping up the road. So typically what we'll do is notice all the utility companies, not just the borough, but anybody like South Jersey Gas or water company, so that they can come in and do any services to residences or businesses in advance, so we don't have openings in the road after we're done. So a lot's already been discussed about the project. I'm going to turn this over now to Paul. He can sort of go into the details of what is proposed from an engineering perspective. And if you have any questions afterwards, I'll be around. Thank you.
Try to
stay focused here. I know Scott mentioned fudge, and I am hungry, Scott. So don't mention that. Okay, so basically this project is, as Bob mentioned, is a road diet project. And there are two major criteria that we look at for projects to see that, that they qualify for these type of safety improvements. And the first is, running speed. So the posted speed of the road is 25 miles an hour, and that's totally within, reasonable range to implement these type of improvements. And also we have to look at the traffic volumes along the road. If they're too high, it's just going to create congestion, and it's just not going to work. This summer we took traffic counts, and we tried to estimate what the average daily traffic is along the road. We looked at 3 locations from south to north. We looked at Lotus Road. We also did a counter at Wisteria and also at Morning Glory. And we found from north to south that the average daily traffic volumes were about 8,000 vehicles at the north end of the project, and that gradually got lowered to the southern end, which the vehicle totaled about 5,500 vehicles. So that makes it a good candidate for the improvements that we want to implement. We also looked at the condition of the pavement, the thickness of the asphalt with 24 pavement cores, and we found that the average thickness of the pavement was approximately 4 inches thick. The county standard is 7.5, so it appears that we want to reconstruct the roadway fully, and given the fact that the borough is upgrading their the sewer, drainage, and water facilities, the patchwork that would be out there, it's better to start with a clean slate. When this project is done, you'll have a 20-year service life on that roadway. So basically getting into the improvements, we're maintaining the existing curb width from curb to curb at 70 feet. What we're doing, though, is we're eliminating 1 through lane in each direction. And also what we will be implementing on the project is replacing all the curb and gutter and all the sidewalk. We will be upgrading everything to ADA requirements. We'll also be addressing any surface ponding and any drainage improvements that need to occur, so we'll be adding additional inlets and making sure they're tied into the system properly, checking anything that is not sufficient. Now, with the loss of the lane, that gives us additional width. And what we're looking to do is, as you saw in the plans that are to my left, is that we're going to be implementing raised medians that will vary in width from 8 to 20 feet. And we'll also be providing 6-foot bike lanes in each direction. Now, by going to this, we will be maintaining, just to make it clear, that the left turn movements that currently exist will be maintained. It's just that we are providing, as Bob said, a more structured flow to them with the curved medians. So we're not restricting any left turns or changing anything in that regard. Now, with the reduction of one of the through lanes in each direction, it basically just reduces the amount of potential conflicts between vehicles. So for a 4-lane roadway, 2 lanes in each direction, potentially you would have 6 points of conflict if you look at it. But when you reduce it down to 1 lane in each direction, that falls down to 2. And at intersections, there are, for a 4-lane roadway, there are 4 potential conflict points, and that gets reduced down to 4. And so this reduction in vehicle conflicts, you'll have less crashes. The curb median will act as a traffic calming measure. So will the landscaping and having the road look more, the beautification of it. People tend to drive more slowly. Also, with 1 lane in each direction, you won't have the issue with slower vehicles in the right lane and people trying to pass in the left lane or vice versa. So you get those swipe crashes. Those will all be eliminated in this scenario where traffic will proceed in like a caravan fashion. And also there'll be no need to switch lanes except to make a left turn. You'll just be driving in the 1 lane. So again, it just kind of simplifies traffic patterns.
And also to touch upon the center curved islands, their benefits, the FHWA has shown that they reduce crashes by up to 15%. They do reduce vehicle speeds, act as a traffic calming measure. They provide a refuge for pedestrians, so if you can't get totally across the roadway, you've got an area where you can kind of wait until the traffic stops or get across the rest of the way. They provide a space for landscaping, which is in keeping with what the borough wants for their downtown look and the upgrades that they're looking to implement. And they're also less expensive to build than if we had put in just asphalt paving that is a strength. And they're cheaper to maintain as well. And that's my presentation.
Okay. I want to apologize in advance because, as you heard Bob indicate, Pacific Avenue, south of Rambler down to Jefferson, is going to be under construction between the borough doing its portion and the county doing their portion, starting as early as next year, all the way into 2022. So the Pacific Avenue will be under construction. So there will be some inconvenience. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to tell you that's the way it is. There's going to be detours and so forth, but it won't be during the summertime. Then following that project, then New Jersey Avenue comes. So in essence, in cooperation with the county, Wildwood Crest will be under construction for the next 4 years. Okay, so I don't want to sugarcoat it. I don't want to call it what it is. Progress comes with pain, and unfortunately that's what it be. But we're going to try to do it so that at least May through the end of September is not impacted. Okay, so a couple things I want to. Mark de Blasio, can you stand up for a second? Mark is our municipal engineer. He provided the food, and I wanted to thank you on behalf of our Crest. And we're in this awesome facility owned by the Wildwood Crest Volunteer Fire Company. Thank you for allowing us and hosting us tonight, Commissioner Thompson and Ron Harden. So 2 years ago, we brought in a guy named Roger Brooks, who's a national planner, and he designs downtowns. He made a presentation. We kind of piggybacked with the Greater Wildwood Chamber of Commerce, and he really got. I know, at least myself, I think everybody pretty excited about what our downtown, or lack of a downtown, could be. So, and then the planning board was working on it, and this all came together. So it's moving fast. Again, it's going to be a period of time before it gets underway. But again, that planning has to start now. I'm just curious. Is anyone, raise your hand if you like that term, Crest Station? Yeah? No? Because you keep referring, you've heard a couple of things tonight, right? You've heard it being called the downtown. You've heard it being called the New Jersey Avenue Business District. Well, we got to give it a name. Because if you don't give it a name, people won't identify it. You have to brand it. It's kind of like Bourbon Street in New Orleans, right? Everybody knows where that's at. So, where Main Street in, say, Magic Kingdom is. So, we're going to have maybe the Crest Station. If you say it real fast, you'll think of a crab. So, Crest Station. Okay, so we're going to open up the floor to any comments, any questions. I think we have another microphone here. So if you could just give your name and your address for the record, even though this isn't being recorded. Make sure you all the renderings, any progress, whether it be these projects that we're talking about tonight or projects that we're talking about in the future or pending projects, they're all available on the special projects page on the website. So if you have access to the internet, I highly suggest you get out there and take a look. Sign up for the Nixle alerts, sign up for the email alerts. You'll get text messages, phone calls, you'll get all that. So it's hard, and I'm happy to see the turnout here. I don't know if you responded because you saw it in the paper or you got the actual letter in the mail, because the old-fashioned snail mail still works. We'll do our best. Whenever Trish Paquette sends out something in the mail, people respond. Sometimes we do it all, through the internet and Facebook and email and all the other stuff. People don't pay any attention to it. So, Commissioner Thompson, you want to pass that microphone around to see if anybody has any questions? We got a question in the back. Oh, question in the front.
Now, isn't New Jersey Avenue the truck route from Crest to Rambler? I'm assuming that if it's going down to one lane each direction, it will no longer be a truck route?
No, it is still be a truck route, it's just one lane. But the speeds are going to be slow. If you're going from the
Yeah, but, for outside dining, who wants to see a bunch of trucks come by?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't restrict it to a truck route. but
Okay.
They will
All right.
restrict the speed, so.
Okay. Can I add to that, speaking of trucks, anything with moving a industrial, company or building out of the commercial district there in the same area, Sweetbriar, New Jersey Avenue? By the way, I'm Barbara Bixler, 120 West Sweetbriar Road.
Okay, so I think everyone's familiar with the business that we're talking about, and we had a meeting today, actually, and so the project as you're seeing it now is taking into consideration that that business will be there operating as usual. However, safe to say that based on the conversations that we had today and the future conversations, there is a mutual interest to work together to potentially relocate that business offshore. Now, I can't get into the details, but I will say that I received, a really good feeling. Administrator Mann and myself met with the owner, and it looks like it's going to be possible. It may not be when this project starts, because it may take that long, but at some point in time, you may see that. And there's a lot of work that has to do to make that happen. But we're on that.
And I have a third one. Don't know if anybody's familiar with Lauderdale by the sea down in Florida. There's a restaurant called Aruba in that area. It's sort of the downtown district, a lot of pedestrian, and they mentioned a wave bike rack. Down there they have bike racks shaped like a fish skeleton. Really cool looking. I think it would be a grand idea to have here in Crest. I think that's all I can think of right now.
Okay, and on that note, so the bicycle access, the lanes, but I agree. So you can always take the cheap way out, and I hate that I'm gonna put it kind of that way. You can buy a traditional bike rack, the same as every bike rack that you see at every schoolyard in every municipality. Wildwood Crest needs to be unique and different, and it's things like that that will brand the district and make people visually look at that and say, wow, this is awesome. But thank you for that comment.
Actually, when I saw them down there, I thought of the Centennial Park, and I thought, oh my word, that would be fabulous down there.
Go ahead in the back.
Hi, I'm Bernadette from West Wisteria Road. So 2 comments. One, she said about the truck route. Can you take into consideration if the trucks are going to continue to go through there, that the tree clearance is worth a while? Because I do live on West Wisteria Road. We have those line of trees where it looks like your exit for your parking lot might be. So they'll probably go away, but I personally have lost a roof and a windshield from a tree speeding down our block and basically ripping all the branches off. So if you can keep that in mind when you're working with the trees. My other suggestion would be on West Wisteria Road, where you're planning on having this parking lot, the entrance to the lot not be on West Wisteria, but on New Jersey. And the reason I say that is there are a multitude of small children in that area who ride their bikes, play ball on the curb, rolls into the street. And if you are familiar with that at all, the set of lights as you're coming north on New Jersey starts the next block up from Wisteria. So a lot of people tend to want to beat the light. So they make that quick left onto Wisteria West, heading down at full speed. And I sit on my porch every summer and cringe when I see the kids playing out there, because it is going to be a fatality there someday. I I've been known by some of the kids, I don't think they like me too much sometimes, because I tell them, please guys, get out on the street, don't play ball there, don't ride your bike there, somebody's gonna get hurt. So I think if you can rearrange that entrance, I'm all for beautification, I love it. But if you can move that entrance and not have it on Wisteria Road, West Wisteria right there, I think it would be a great idea. And then if you did put the parking lot there and kept the entrance there, you've taken away at least 6 parking spots that I know my neighbors fight for. My neighbors will go out on a Wednesday night and park their car just to get a parking spot for their family in their driveways. So if you're gonna put a parking lot there, are we gonna have any kind of right to park our cars that we're losing those 6 spots? Just a thought.
Okay, and I'm talking with Scott, and absolutely, we can look at that into a speaking for the rest. Thank you.
My name's Joanne Young, and we have property on West Market. And my question is, you're talking about this island in the middle of New Jersey Avenue, and you also mentioned something about 8,000 cars possibly coming across this in peak season, where there's going to obviously be a bottleneck of traffic. We live yearly, I live on the Springdale Road in Voorhees. We have a similar thing on Springdale Road, which used to be 4 lanes, is down to 2 lanes and 2 bicycle lanes, and now that road is nothing but a lot of traffic. So, I mean, we don't even have a house on one of these side streets. So what is the township going to do for the people who are living in that area? Because Myrtle Road, in and of itself, if I want to get out of my car, I always have to look around and I don't get hit by a car because it's one way and all the traffic comes down Myrtle and you can either make a right or a left. And it's very dangerous, as you were saying. There are yearly residents on that block, and the kids are out there playing. And what are you going to do with this bottleneck of traffic that you have to have when you're going from 4 lanes to 2 lanes in the middle of the summer?
So I can make a couple of comments. I'm not sure if this is still on.
Here we go.
Springdale Road, when the county did the road diet there, it really didn't change the volume on that roadway. But what it did, sometimes it can create a little bit more congestion, but it slows the cars down and it reduces. And I'll let the traffic engineers talk about what it actually does from that standpoint. The benefit in what we saw in Avalon was the number of illegal U-turns that we saw mid-block was tremendously dangerous. People were doing the U-turns. They were having conflicts with pedestrians and bicyclists and other cars. We had a tremendous problem with jaywalking. So by putting the planted island in the middle, it doesn't change the volume of traffic, and I can put that over to Mr. Church or Mr. Cinco. But what it does do is it defines it better, and it stops some of those unpredictable moves of the illegal jaywalking and the illegal U-turn.
I understand that, but what are you doing with the side streets where people, what would you be doing? The traffic's going to back up. If that area is successful business, which I hope it is, I think it's a very nice idea. What are you going to do about peak season and that traffic? Everybody saying, well, I'm not going to drive all the way into town because you live in Medford, so you got to be familiar with Collingswood. I'm like 4 miles from Collingswood, and you can't find a parking spot. There's tons of traffic. Although you have corners where people, cross where they should cross, I don't know what you're going to do about the traffic when you're talking about 8,000 cars a day down New Jersey Avenue in peak season.
And I'll let the engineers talk about the volume. We should be so lucky to have some backups for people who are visiting the downtown. A downtown that doesn't have a traffic problem or a parking problem is not a successful downtown. Now, to your point, that balance is a little bit of backup helps the businesses. If it becomes a congestion problem, that's when people will avoid the downtown. will still go to Collingswood because they have great restaurants. There's a great destination there, and it works for Collingswood and Haddonfield, frankly,
Right.
and Morristown, all of which have traffic issues. I don't know if Mr. Cinco or Mr. Church want to comment on the road diet.
Before I turn that over to him, I would like to say I had the same concern with Pacific Avenue when that was dropped down to one lane. Was expecting the same backup and the problems. And I contract during the day here, and I drive these streets all day back and forth, and I was very concerned that I would get stuck behind slow posts and the visitors and the sightseers. And I gotta tell you, it did not happen on Pacific Avenue whatsoever.
Yeah, just to sort of reiterate, although this is a road diet project, we also had that companion traffic signal project, which is independent. And they've already looked at their traffic counts for going from 2 lanes to 1 lane, and the level of service of the signals and the queuing is within acceptable, it's acceptable by DOT standards. So if they had thought that there was going to be an issue for backup, we would not have gone to the single lanes. So that was already looked at by the traffic engineers.
Just that, delays might be slightly increased, but the increase in safety far outweighs the slight delays that are caused by reducing the number of lanes down. There's plenty of studies out there that show that, especially in the downtown area, you want people to drive slowly, traffic calming, safety. That's paramount to try to get traffic through. So you really have to look at it from that perspective, I think.
I'm Jeff Kelly from Jellyfish Cafe. Thank you very much. No, the only thing that I'm not having a problem with what you're trying to do here, and it looks all great. The thing is, that was already quoted, that it's from Astor Road south. Well, I'm on Astor Road north. So, as it goes with parking, I have a problem as it is with parking. And right now, we're bringing in anywhere from 600 to 700 people a day. That's a lot of people to feed. And that's all great that we're going to have other businesses. I welcome them. But I don't have any parking at all when you do this project. That's the problem. So you're kind of killing the golden nugget. So I've advanced to have 3 bike racks to try to promote biking. I've told all my employees to park as far away as they can. But it's a problem. It's a problem. And I think that it's going to be worse for me. And I'm not just looking at it from my standpoint, because like I said, I welcome new ideas. In Florida, we have a lot of good ideas down there. We promote the carts instead of cars, which I've had a lot of my customers come with go-karts. And that has worked for them. But I do have a problem. I think, as you can tell by the audience, a lot of them eat in my restaurant, and they all have either had to wait or keep driving around the block. So now you just increased my problem. So that's the only thing I'd like you to look at seriously. Second of all, deliveries. If you're only going to have 1 lane, not only my business, but every business that you're thinking about putting in this area is going to have deliveries. And they're going to have deliveries 2, 3, 4 times a day. If that truck stops and it's only 1 lane, man, you got a mess. I mean, I don't know where those trucks are going to go, because there's nobody that can deliver from the back of any of those stores that will be, there, and there's no delivering in the back of ours. So that means that truck has to stop on that main road. And if you only have a single lane, you got a problem. So,
Where do they stop now?
they stop right in the lane, and then they go around them, because it's 2 lanes. But they go around them, and I even send 2 guys out that look for these trucks. So that when they park there, my guys run out and they unload them as fast as they can and get them off the street. So we've done everything we can possibly do. But that's the problem that you have with a successful business. But, so that was one of the things. It seems that this is from Astor south, and you do have a problem Astor north. And again, like Barbara was saying about the laundry, we know that's a problem. It's always been a problem. They have their trucks. I have no idea where they're going to put them, and I understand that they moved some of their operation offshore. They did that a couple of years back. But I don't know how you're going to solve that problem, but of course you know that is a problem, so that's the other thing. And a bike rack is very important. If I don't widen my sidewalk, that bike rack or that person riding a bike is going to kill somebody. Because I have people that come out of my restaurant and they got to go, whoa, because kids riding a bike on that side. So that's a problem. I just want to bring it up.
And that's why, just to clarify, we are actually having a striped and dedicated on-street bike lane, and that will have striping on both sides between the through lane and between the parallel parking to try to get those bikes off of the sidewalk, because it does become a safety issue for the pedestrians.
So just for one comment on that. So again, this is a interactive work in progress. So the comments that we're here making tonight, we're making the notes so that we can go back and readjust the plans and take that all into consideration to address the parking, to address deliveries for businesses and so forth. So it's all good, but that's past my pay grade how to design that. So one of these fine folks are going to figure that all out, and we're going to come back and we're going to have some more meetings and see new renderings and so forth. Okay, who's next?
This man right here. Down at Rambler Road. Down at Rambler Road, presently, when traffic comes down New Jersey Avenue, okay, there's a light there. And that light begins to change. People make a quick left and run up Primrose quickly. But are you going to make any changes to Rambler and Park Boulevard as you reduced from, as you say, 2 lanes to 1 lane?
Yeah, under the other contract for the traffic signal upgrades, that's one of the intersections that consultant is working on. So there will be some upgrades to that signal in the plan.
They're going to change that there?
There's some slight changes to the signal timing and the phasing of that signal. Yes.
Oh, hi. 6306 New Jersey Avenue, so I'm right in the middle of it, Dennis and me. We're right next to Tony's Produce. What's your plan with that parking lot? Are you planning to have that be a paid parking lot? You have to pay to go there? Because it's literally right there in front of my house. Is that going to be a paid parking lot?
Yes.
On Wisteria and New Jersey?
So you're talking about
Tony's Produce, across the street, the corner, yeah.
Yeah, so we haven't made any decisions in terms of it's going to be paid or free or whichever. I think paid is probably the way to go, similar to what if you go to North Wildwood and their municipal lot. But again, these are all discussions that we're not, because if you don't put some sort of time limit on there, people are going to park there all the time. So that's an off the cuff, off my head type answer. But
Did you buy the lot yet? I mean, because I heard 2 years ago that it's already sold to the guy who has the seafood and the boats that go in and out the pirate ship. I heard it's already gone. No, they park there every day. The guys from
No, I believe you're referring to the old Bill's gas station?
Yeah, exactly.
That's not where we're talking about the parking lot.
Oh, so where was
It's not-
Syria?
This is actually next to Tony Luke's. Which on the south side of Tony Luke's.
That lot.
That lot. Now, the other thing is that as far as the pay versus non-pay, that decision, when we get to be made, we may need to restrict it to an hour or two during the day. We can't have the neighbors, condos, the people that live there park there all day and take those spots. I personally don't care about overnight parking, the people in the area, but it would have to be out early in the morning for the businesses. All that will yet to be determined, whether it's a paid lot or not. Again, we have not made that decision. It kind of defeats the purpose to bring people downtown. Other towns have it. It would be a nominal charge, but it would be one way to keep the cars out of there from the neighborhood. We just cannot have the neighborhood cars parking in that lot, with this lot as being taken for the purpose of the Jersey Avenue.
And just to add that, it's not necessarily the residents, it's also the employees, because we know most merchants tell their staff, do not park in front of our store. So they park 2 doors down, and the guy 2 doors down tells his staff to do the same thing, and it basically is a game of cat and mouse. And the turnover, being able to have timed parking, again, as Commissioner indicated, that's an issue to be determined, but having that limited to 1 or 2 hour parking is going to be critical, because instead of that 1 parking space being 1 space for 8 hours, it now becomes 6 parking spaces. It has 6 separate lives in that same peak period.
David Williams, 8107 New Jersey. Just for clarification, the 2 lanes to 1 is from Crest East to Rambler, the entire Crest?
Yes.
And the Crest Station, to give you your name, is a shorter subset of that, Astor to wherever.
Correct.
Okay. So it's going to be bike paths the entire way. One comment or suggestion, visiting my son in Long Beach, their bike path is up against the curb inside the parallel parking. And I asked him why, and he said, bikers feel safer because they have no traffic on their left as they bike, because it's parked cars. And he seems to think that, well, he's convinced that he's a biker, that it's a better way. So I just throw that out there for consideration.
And we can talk to the county and look into that. Some of our experience has been, and there are places that do it either way, because it's less frequently done that way, the pedestrians that are getting out of their car on the passenger side have no expectation that something fast is coming up next to them, and then that can create a problem as well. So I don't know that any one of those solutions is perfect, but we'll have some discussions with the county and take that under consideration.
Jeff Bogan, 129 East Primrose. Wow, these are really great questions. We've only been here a year and a half. We actually came from a town that tried doing something not as great as this, and it failed. They did all the streetscape and that whole thing about if you build it, they will come. They didn't. I've heard, we've talked about all the streetscape, and maybe I'm ignorant to this, but what about the businesses? What's there now, and please no offense to anyone there, but it's not a downtown area. What is the plan for bringing businesses in? And I mean, is it an eminent domain type of thing? What's happening?
So the town hasn't addressed any redevelopment areas or eminent domain or anything else. That really hasn't been any part of that discussion. This really started off in a couple of ways. The planning board has been looking at zoning modifications, trying to stimulate a little bit of economic reinvestment in those properties in the downtown. So the master plan has already been trying to make some of those changes. This is very similar to what was done in Avalon when we got there about 18 years ago. Avalon, like a lot of the barrier islands, including Ocean City, was seeing tremendous reinvestment in their residential properties. Ton of tear downs, places being reconstructed, but the business districts were really just sort of languishing. By changing some of the zoning in Avalon in conjunction with those streetscapes, the market responded and said, we now want to reinvest in those areas. So the first step, the multi-pronged approach has really been, let's look at some of the zoning and see how we loosen up some of that zoning and maybe be flexible on parking requirements and those other things from a land development standpoint. The second prong of that is, let's make sure that we have that formula as the county redoes their roadway. Let's take advantage of that infrastructure investment and make the streetscape the best it can be. We know that we have the numbers here to make a downtown work. There are a lot of downtowns in New Jersey because they rerouted Route 70 around downtown Marlton or Evesham. It crushed their downtown. They'll never get the vehicle trips back to have a really vibrant downtown. We know that we have numbers here. So some of those other parts of that formula is make it fun and safe and attractive and vibrant, make it convenient, slow the cars down, try to do some things with the zoning to stimulate some economic reinvestment. If 3, 5, 8 years from now, that revitalization hasn't come to fruition, then the town may want to look at what are some redevelopment opportunities to try to stimulate reinvestment. But I wouldn't suggest that let private market.
So basically, we're going to do the streetscape and the businesses and stuff, and all that's going to come later. I mean, if it comes sooner, great, but we're focusing on the streetscape and hoping that people will invest in building a business down there.
Yes.
That's basically what we're doing.
And I think that's because the town really doesn't want to be in the real estate business. There's a lot of private businesses down there, and what we see in these areas, as soon as, and I can tell you that by the county putting the kind of investment in redoing the road and the potential for this to happen, I'm sure that there are people who are already saying, that's going to be spectacular. I need to go look at property because I want to have a restaurant or a store in that area. So it starts to generate a little bit of inertia. And once a town starts to get 1 or 2 new stores, or you get an anchor restaurant, everybody starts to sort of play off of that synergy, and that's how economic investment starts. There are a number of tools that down the road, such as tax incentives, tax exemption and abatement, rehabilitation area designation, there are a number of more aggressive things that could be done. They haven't even been discussed or considered. We're really trying to do it with streetscape and zoning at this point, let the private market dictate the revitalization itself. We can take other steps if need be.
So with your experience with these other towns then that have gone through this whole process, they're basically starting out the way we did. They started out the way we did. So as far as the current businesses or the homeowners and things that are there, people are going to have to be willing to give up their property for a business to come in there. Or sell their property is what I'm saying, for businesses to...
If the value goes up enough that a business wants to move in there and the resident says, that is a dollar value I'm comfortable with, then yes, that's a decision that person will make. But just as a private market force, if they want to stay there in a residence and live there, they're fully vested too. But what we find happens is, as soon as those values start going up and up enough, and just through attrition, folks will turn over, and the higher and better land use will take over. In a small, compact downtown like this, those values will get higher. One of the disadvantages we actually had in Avalon is the downtown is too long. When they moved the bridge coming in from up to 30th Street, it doubled the length of the downtown. So the businesses are really spread out. You guys have a great opportunity to have a nice compact little walking area, which is one of the advantages that Stone Harbor has. Stone Harbor is almost a little too tight. Theirs could be a little longer. Avalon's could be a little bit shorter. You guys have a nice sort of mix in size between it. It's going to take a while to get there. It doesn't happen overnight. The alternative is not reinvesting in it will result in a continued decay of the economic viability in that downtown over time. Some reinvestment is going to have to happen.
If you don't mind, I did want to address one thing you asked. about the current businesses. In this plan, there is a provision for some of the business for improvements, being landscaping in front of their buildings, chairs, benches, traverse trees to dress those businesses up. So it will improve the look of those businesses that are there now and make it more attractive. And making this better, hopefully that also will bring in some new businesses. And if the value does go up and they want to sell and get new, and the hope would be that we get developers come in there, tear down some of our older buildings and build some nice new stores with some living quarters upstairs for some more people to support the businesses in that area. But to answer your question, there is a provision for these businesses to upgrade, new signage, and like I said, plants and shrubbery and benches to dress up the area. I did want to ask you one question. You said it failed where you're from. So is that an inland community or is that a beach tourist area?
No, it's a skiing area. It's Vernon up in Sussex County. Vernon Township.
Okay, now was that downtown area in kind of that ski area there, or was it off?
It was on the main
No.
road. It was on the main road. It was just very, very. It was bad. It was bad, but they did all the streetscape and everything, and just nothing ever happened to it. It's a shame. But again, it wasn't anything like this. But
Maybe that's the issue. Okay, thank you.
no, you will. Is there, and forgive me, just throw something out there, you can take up too much time.
Please,
The theme for downtown, you know, like you were saying there, it was about the train. As far as any new construction that goes on down there, is there going to be a theme to that as well, as far as what is, or has it not been put out that far yet? As far as building designs, we said no red bricks and things like that, but is it going to be Victorian? Is it going to be something from when we did have the trains coming through here? What is the ideas for that? Is there anything?
So, and I can answer that in a couple of ways. The idea in terms of creating a very unique identity, we were really talking about the streetscape from the front of the buildings in as part of this project. Something that really ties, we want to talk about just the name of the town, of it being the Crest, of tie into that beachfront dune water, embrace that nautical maritime concept with everything we do in the streetscape itself. From ornamental grasses that sort of look like dune grasses and other perennials in the downtown. As part of the planning board and master plan recommendations, there are recommendations for trying to have good traditional architecture. I don't know that the town wants to go specific and say it has to be Victorian, or it has to be colonial, or it has to be craftsman, but trying to just get good buildings that sort of fit within the context of Cape May County and has a lot of those design features and not just blank facades that we've seen in some buildings that have been built a few years ago. Good fenestration and windows, good roof lines, have the mass of those structures broken up, both vertically in roof modulation and then horizontally as well. I said that backwards.
Yeah.
Hey, my name is Jason Kramer. Which introduce myself. I just bought Curry Loose, so I hope someday get a nice applause that you did it together. And I appreciate it. I'm glad to be on the same block with you, and we're going to make something happen. But let me just explain. A lot of people didn't know that I had to do a coffee shop for 15 years in Wildwood, Crest. On social media, we were killing it. Number one, number two. Always fighting with Mr. Kelly over here for the top spot. But here's the thing, and welcome to the town. But I don't know if you know it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Guerrero, but I think around 80% of those businesses are already bought up. There's the ice cream parlor coming. I'm turning it into the do-up drive-in. Now let me correct everybody before they think. It's not a drive-through. It's a play on Roxy's, Cozy's back in the 50s. It's going to be neon. It's going to be lights. Making a big, huge investment into downtown. I know there's an ice cream parlor coming. I know, I'm not going to point out, there's other business owners here that already bought those vacant lots up. This is, I'm born and raised here, and I'm making my commitment here. I went to school here. I'm not just some freeloader just came off the streets buying a property. This is my home. I'm staying here. I'm making a big investment. But I think we need to bring the skeleton out of the closet and introduce I know a lot of y'all are gonna have a comment, just wait, so just hear me out. We need to bring alcohol back into the Crest. Now, everybody who says, where do you go to go buy something? I mean, listen, we're all in this, for years, we're all grown up here. We all know what happens. Where do you go? Lower Township, Wildwood, you go buy alcohol. They're going to drink it no matter what. We need to bring it here, bring the revenue in here. You want a downtown area, all these young kids, 20s, 30s, 40s, they have the money to spend. They're spending it. Stop letting these people go out of town and spend it somewhere else. But I think a lot of you locals are being misinformed. I need Don to explain to everybody what this liquor license is entitled. We're not going out for 10, 12 liquor licenses. It's just one liquor license per capita. We're not going to have food bars everywhere. We're not going to have nightclubs. But the more alcohol you have, people are going to come down here, they're going to spend the money, they're going to have a downtown area to shop, dine, eat, park, and we'll work out the detail. Enough parking so you don't go to the beach and camp out, so you're not sitting, using the parking. There are little details these guys will all work out. I'm for all this, but you need to bring out the alcohol and let the alcohols flow because everyone's going to buy it somewhere else. Why are we losing out on so much money with the alcohol being out? Yes, the motels with over 100 units are going to get liquor licenses, and they're going to suck them up. The more he's going to come in, they're going to get. We know what's going to happen. Those motels with 100 units are going to get liquor licenses, and they're going to back. But people aren't going to leave. They're going to stay here. They're going to use the bike paths. They're going to come down to downtown to eat. That is what needs to be addressed. Get the skeleton out. You all need to just get with the times and realize that these people are going to skip this Crest station if you don't have some place to eat and drink.
Okay, so I want to be politically correct here. I'll do my best. All right, so let's just take a look at, first of all, this vision. When we were talking with Mr. Brooks 2 years ago, when he made his presentation, one of the key points he said was, he actually was joking. We're just going to get a drink after this presentation on Thursday. I said, we're not going to go to Wild or to Kingston Wild Crest. We're going to have to go elsewhere. He goes, what? So that was the night before he made his presentation. And he said, you're never going to have a viable downtown if you don't have a restaurant that has the ability to serve a beer or a glass of wine and so forth. We're talking a restaurant. We're not talking about dance clubs and bars and beach bars. We're talking about, based on the population of Wild Crest, we're permitted to have one consumption license in the Crest. Forget the hotels and the motels for a second. One license in this business zone, in the Crest station. So somewhere, if there were to be that opportunity, we believe that that will create additional retail, additional other, shopping, yoga, health food stores, whatever that may be. It's going to create that downtown that we're looking for. So in anticipation, and ever since we've had it on our public agenda, first of all, know one thing. This doesn't happen from the governing body. Okay? This happened in 1940. Wildwood Crest had two or three liquor licenses at the time. They repealed them by way of referendum. So in order to put it back, to make the Crest wet again, that's not a play on Trump's words, but I'll use that term. To make the Crest wet again, you really need to have a referendum by petition, get it on the ballot in November, and vote on it. And then, if it happens, the governing body can legislate where that can be. So in anticipation, because I figured somebody was going to bring that up, we had asked Mike Zampino and our solicitor Ron Galzunas to work on what I'll call a frequently asked questions piece, that if, big two-letter word, if there was a referendum and if it passed, where does Wildwood Crest stand in terms of legislating that one license and potentially other hotels and motels that would fall into that 100-room category? Now, that said, West Cape May was dry for the longest time. I believe their license went for a little under $500,000. Middle Township just opened up a license over there, and I believe that went for $800,000. They're one-time hits, okay? But there's renewal licenses, but the benefit is that you're keeping business in the Crest. Now, I'm not saying that as I'm sitting here as the mayor. If I were sitting out there with you as a business owner in the Crest, as a resident in the Crest, as someone who likes to go on vacation and have a drink, we're losing that business, okay? And I think that we're kidding ourselves if you don't think they're cracking beers or whatever up when they're watching the free concerts at Centennial Park, or they're out on the beach. Come down and look at the recycling cans out on the beach. People are drinking in the Crest. So, you ever see that movie Footloose, dancing? Like that's almost like the way we're looking at it now. I'm thinking we need to be more open about what the potential is. We're not talking about beach bars. We're not talking about bars where you sit and punch tickets out all night and so forth. We're talking about restaurants serving a glass of wine, a glass of beer, whatever that may be. So before you leave, I would recommend that if you have interest in that particular topic, grab one of these frequently asked questions pieces and look at if, again, that big two-letter word, if it were to happen, what it could mean to Wildwood Crest and how would it be legislated. I think that a lot of people say, why are you bringing that up? And I think that we're bringing it up because actually how it got started was we're looking at people getting married in the Crest, Sunset Lake, the fishing pier, the gazebo or Rambler Road, on the beach. Do you realize how many weddings happened right here in Wildwood Crest because of its beauty and its natural settings? But then we're telling them, you can't drink here, you guys send your business there to Cape Bay if you want to have your reception. We're thinking, okay, that's not good. Then we start seeing these events. We have the Crest Fest 10 miler, we're trying to bring in more events into the Crest, trying to expand our shoulder seasons. Can't do that because the Crest is not able to do that by way of special event permitting. So if it were to happen, you're looking at one consumption license in the Crest station, potentially to the hotels and motels that have 100 rooms, and the opportunity that if any of your kids or your grandkids want to get married in the Crest, they now have an opportunity to hold their reception right here in Wildwood Crest and at our events. That's what we're talking about. We're not going crazy. We're not talking about 5 a.m. bars or 3 a.m., all that craziness. Not going to happen. So, thanks for bringing that up, Mr. Kramer, and good luck on your new business.
I would like to add to that for just 1 second. And you'll see it's in this frequently asked question flyer we have. But if it is passed, the Borough Council has great control over what we can allow. A gentleman came to one of our meetings who was against it, and he indicated that he thought he would have beer bottles thrown on his lawn at 3 o'clock in the morning and a number of other things with that. One of the things we envision is stopping the sales of any alcohol 11 o'clock at night. I can tell you that a bar cannot come in and open a bar and have to stop serving 11. We're not talking about a bar. We're not talking about beach bars. You probably saw that all over Facebook and in spout offs. No beach bars. But we will have great latitude to control this as far as hours of operation, how many seating and all that, and where they can be. So you will have control. You will have a chance to come to meetings to voice your concern on what the controls should be and what we will do, and you'll hear all that well before it's done, so that you can rest assured we're not going to have a nightclub and a bar and people going crazy 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. So we were looking for your input on that as well. But I wanted you to be aware that there are a lot of controls. This is only one license that we are looking to tailor to a restaurant. Now, we lost Duffinetti's. She's in Wildwood with a bar and a liquor store. Okay, no issues up there. But she can serve liquor so she can make money. We lost Duffy's on the lake years ago. I firmly believe had they been able to sell wine and some beers for their dinner, they would still be there. I was quite disappointed when the borough allowed them to tear down and put houses and lose that as a restaurant. Had I been on the board at the time, I would have voted no and tried to keep that as a restaurant and commercial. Not my choice, they did it. That's not a criticism. but you lost a restaurant. We've now lost the Bayview. You can tell yourself that was not in Wildwood Crest, but I'm telling you the Bayview was in Wildwood Crest. It was between our borders, and if I wanted to see a show of hands, you could show me how many people have gone to the Bayview. All right? And then tell me how many people had a problem with the Bayview. That Bayview did not cause problems in this town. We're looking to take a Bayview and put it up on Jersey Avenue as an anchor store. This will be a restaurant that can serve beer and wine with dinner. Keep in mind, Bayview was able to stay open until 2, 3 in the morning, wherever they wanted, because it was a bar. Okay? This would not be. So this, we are strictly talking allowing a restaurant.
Paul Chiello, 6712 Park Boulevard. I didn't. My purpose wasn't to even talk about alcohol, but since you brought it up, I was at a couple of comments to it. The business that I'm in, we are in the real estate business, and we're on all the barrier islands from Margate South. And whenever we're in this town, we have clients all the time. We have functions, and every time we take out different people out for drinks, we wind up going, of course, down into Wildwood or go out to dinner in Cape May. And I think what's not been mentioned tonight is what this could potentially do in the off-season. If you want to go have breakfast down here this time of the year, and you really have a yearning for that great cream chip beef over a jellyfish, you can't get it right now. So maybe we get to the point where it actually extends the season and we're able to bring some businesses in. Mr. Thompson hit the nail on the head. We lost a lot of businesses over all the years I've been here. We lost a lot of restaurants. We've actually been in a downward spiral when you think about the business community. That needs to be resurrected. There's a lot of people that come down here, not just, we're not, everybody always thinks we're talking about tourists. We're not just talking about tourists. We're talking about a year-round community here. Where does anybody go if you want to go out tonight, or you want to go out and have dinner, or you want to go out and have breakfast tomorrow morning? I still haven't figured that out. I've been here 30 years. I have to leave the island and go somewhere else. So I just wanted to add that point to it, because I think it's something for us as locals and citizens to think about how it benefits us as well.
So, how many people have been to Disney World? Raise your hand. So, it's the #1 family destination in the world, right? They serve alcohol at every park with kids. Parents can walk around with your bottle or your glass in your hand. I've been there. We own the vacation club, or we go there at least once a year, sometimes twice. Never seen any issues. Yeah, sometimes 3 if it's a good year. So anyway, we're not here to talk about that, but so when you're thinking about New Jersey Avenue, the Crest Station, the business district, whatever you want to call it, think about that as the potential location for that if any of you want to step forward, put the noose around your neck, and get a referendum signed. So anyway, that's me being funny, but that's sometimes that's the way we feel when we want to talk about making progress throughout Wildwood Crest.
Yeah, my name is Frank Collier. I live at 317 East Syracuse Avenue. Now, as far as the bike path goes, when you go from here down south, that road is wide enough that you can be next to cars, and if a car door opens or whatnot, you have a place to move, as far as bikes go. Safety-wise, that's the way to go. If you're going to go down that way and limit the road down to 1 lane each direction, the people parking their cars, they're not going to be looking for bikes that much. And the guy going with the bike, all of a sudden the car door opens in front of him. There he goes. Where is he going to go? He's going to try to go to the left to save himself. And if there's a truck or something coming down a single lane road, that vehicle has no place to go. So either he's going to try and go up on the island, or whatever he's going to do to miss you, or he's going to turn around and hit you. And then again, this sounds like, again, we have the trucks on New Jersey Avenue. Well, if we turned around, couldn't we limit them up to Pacific Avenue? I mean, you paved it, and the big fight there a couple years ago was, don't put an island down the middle of that road. People like the width of the road the way it is. So now all of a sudden we're back with another project, and we're saying, guess what? The island we didn't put up there, we're going to put down here. Didn't ask anybody about it. We're going to put an island. If that's what you need to do, fine. But again,
If the trucks are that much of a problem, like they were saying the jellyfish, guy gets a delivery, where do you think that truck's gonna go? Right in the middle of the street. And you think he's not gonna back the traffic up as far as he can go for a while? They don't always load and unload real quick. So it's gonna be a while. So as far as congestion goes, that's gonna happen.
Okay, so again, on those types of issues, notes have been made by the county. Again, it's a county road, so we're going to, in our meetings, address the parking and the unloading areas and so forth. So hopefully we can come up with a workable plan. Again, remember, we're 2 years away from this, so there's going to be more meetings like this probably in the spring and even after the summer next year. So stay in touch, and we'll keep plugging away.
Just real fast, Seth Fusillara, I live at 200 East Rosemary Road. Along with Jason Kramer, I also purchased one of the buildings located in this new district. We keep talking about creating a commercial area or a restaurant in this area. I grew up here, I grew up on Cardinal Road, Stokes' Laundry was always there. That used to be a huge commercial area. Anybody who's lived here for more than 35 years, there was Taylor's Market, Sticky Fingers, Anderson's. That was a commercial district. We may have a couple more people in the town, but we're just revitalizing that. I mean, I have to thank the commission for coming forward with this plan and idea, because as a kid, I went to Philip Baker, I loved eating at Anderson's. You could sit at the counter. Jason Kramer's going to do something like that where you could walk to the restaurant and eat it. I would love my kids to be able to sit at the counter and get to know Jason like I know him. Sticky Fingers was a great bakery. I hate the fact that you used to be able to sit outside there. I don't know if you remember, there was tables all along Sticky Fingers. I think the Saldutis are in here. They used to have an ice cream parlor over there that we used to drink cheer wine, which was this soft drink that we loved over there. And Taylor's Market. Jack Taylor used to take, as a kid, used to be able to go into the back, and it was a butcher shop. They had the meat and everything handled in there. We are just revitalizing that area. I am happy to invest, and I'm not going to have a business in there. Jeff and Dean run that surf shop. I was afraid that at some point there was going to be a problem. I had Chrissy Cassiela in there who, by herself or with she was in here earlier, I don't know if she's here. There she is hiding. She was able to get 20 vendors in 25 or 30 degree weather to put up tents all along that area and bring people just by word of mouth and some Facebook and some social media. And it was a great event. People could walk and come in and buy things. I think the area is a great area. As far as the liquor license, I mean, I understand. I'm for it. I'll admit it. And if people do want to get together to discuss it, I'm 100% behind moving forward with something that is going to increase people coming to our town, coming to our commercial district, and really, really revitalizing that area. It's not creating a new area, but it seriously is just revitalizing what, as a kid, I loved. I'm not going anywhere. I have 3 boys, and I love the fact that they can walk and feel safe in Wildwood, Crest.
My name is Dennis Hall, leader of Critters. I'd just like to thank everybody that's involved as far as looking forward to our community, because we have such a jewel here, and I don't know the answers to all the questions that came up here. You know, we also have trucks that unload for our paper and things like that. So, but there are solutions to these issues. I think the biggest issue is, do we want to just continue on like we have? And I don't think the answer is yes. We want to improve the area. How the businesses that may follow, we don't know all those answers, but we do know when you look at some of the pictures and you look at even a tourist driving down New Jersey Avenue will have a different feeling about our town than what they will have right now when you drive down there. So I just want to thank everybody that's involved in trying to make the changes, because I know they're hard and questions come up, but I just appreciate it because so much has happened in our community in just the last few years. We've seen such improvements in the parks, and we're even addressing underground issues that nobody sees except by along the lake. There's just one example after another, and I appreciate that. I thank you guys, all, and ladies, everybody that's involved in that. Thank you.
Okay. Before we wrap up, I want you to look at how broad my shoulders are, because before you call Spout off and blast us on Facebook on social media and come to the meetings, we'll take it. But before you do that, I want to ask you just one favor. If you have a question, you have an issue, call, email, come to a meeting. This is a small community. We all know each other here, right? Whether you're a seasonal resident or year-round, it doesn't have to be, with like hidden agendas where we're going to blast people, because we're just trying to do what we believe and put the information, as I said when we first started, the information in front of you so you know what it is that we're working on what we believe are good things. There's a lot of good questions that came out of tonight that we're going to have to go back and we're going to address going forward. And I want to thank you one last time because coming out here on a Tuesday night before Christmas, as cold as it says something. It means you care, and I appreciate that. I want to wish everybody go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, thanks, Don. I wasn't going to let you go that fast. My name is Jeff Walden. If you don't know, I have Ocean Outfitters. I've been there for 21 years. Actually, I'm probably the senior on the entire block, as when I was there, I think Snuffy's was not even there then. I think he was out. Depot took over, they left, and Jeff Kelly, thank you so much. We're really happy to have you on the block. By the way, your parking thing, send them to my store in the morning. We're not there. We hardly have any business at all. Have them park right out front. We love the people to see our store. We love that. And it's funny about our business district in that sense is that Dean can attest to this. I still, to this day, 21 people who have lived near the neighborhood drive by every day and still don't know we're there. Still don't know we're there. Now, I never even know what to think when they say that to me, honestly. And you guys know this, like how can they not know we're there? After 21 years, and area, I'll tell you, isn't easy. And anyone who has a business or has had their own business knows how difficult it is. So, another thing, I was going to say this to the end. For those of you who, whatever way you're looking at this, do me a favor, just take a walk down that street someday, out in this area that they're talking about. Take the whole New Jersey Avenue and take a look at it. There is nothing pretty or anything to be proud of. Nothing. And we've done such a great job with our beachfront, that promenade and that bike path are unbelievable. As much as everybody likes to nitpick at what the city decisions are and everything else, that Bayside is like no other. And I grew up here my whole life, just so you know that too. So I watched all along the way. All these changes have been wonderful, beautiful changes, and a place to say where I'm proud to be in the Crest. Now, that said, Jason, thank you very much for stepping up and letting everybody know. I do know that this is not a downtown area. I know that as good as anybody. And it's one of these things. I've never gone to Don. I've never gone to any commissioners and asked for any favors down there. Ever. I've kept my mouth shut, keep my nose in grindstone, keep on working, and we do what we do, right? But I think this opportunity isn't so much about me, as much as I'm going to love any type of change we can make down there, and the decisions you guys are making and things you're put forth are creative, well thought out, well thought out, and I think can only help us be more complete as a town. We got our front, we got our beach side, we got our bay side. Let's do something in the center here. It makes it the center of the place. I think it's an easy try. I don't even think it's that tough. I think it's really simple and easy. So I understand those things. And so you do know, I think these guys are trying to make it clear. Since this has started, since you guys have started this, I don't know if it stimulated these people or not, but mentioned earlier was Chrissy Casiello, who just had her recent event right out on the street and brought all those vendors on a cold day. Seth Fusarello has purchased a building in that district Paul Piola has purchased, I hope you guys don't mind me calling out here. Embarrassed. You're not embarrassed, are you, Paul? It's all good. And Jason as well. I have to say this, that I could stand there on a given year and know that somebody was going to purchase something down there, and I could tell you they're going to last 3 years. You know why? Because I knew they didn't have any experience in business. These guys are all sharp and experienced. You're seeing new energy into this. Whether it's because of what you've stimulated with liquor licenses or business districts, I don't know. They can answer that. But either way, we got it. We're holding on to something now with some momentum. And I'd like to see us try to keep this going forward in any way or fashion we can. I think there are problems. Jeff Kelly mentions a great one. And I know, I get shipping too, Jeff. But mine's a little bit more easier. And please, I'm going to say it again. Park them in front of my store.
I do.
I don't see enough. I want more. And those are your issues. Most of your traffic's in the morning. I can walk. I'm already parked. And I know morning's heavy for you. But you know what? Somebody said it earlier. That's a good, that's the problem you want. I have that problem. Really. So, I just want everybody to know that. I would feel remiss if I didn't let everyone understand all the things in the background here that's a little bit more different than some other downtown district or some other situation. You're seeing a lot of sharp people with a lot of good business sense and energy coming in. And again, I think we would be remiss ourselves not to try to take some pride and try to help this along with fixing some of the things that we go along with. That's all done. Thank you.
Before we close, I would just like to make a couple statements. One being the parking, okay? There is a net gain in parking between the bump outs, the addition of this parking lot. Right now, we have a parking problem in this town, and it's not just downtown, it's at every single street. We have homeowners come to the meetings, they're requesting residential parking, so nobody can park in front of their house but themselves. Really? Where's anybody else going to park? Where's doors? One gentleman had his two doors come down, and they come down with cars, and they park. When I asked them where they would park, because they can't park in front of their neighbors, because they have residential parking. He didn't consider that. Okay? We have a parking problem. It was created years ago when they developed this town and did not insist that everybody had bigger lots and driveways. Okay? The condos have created more parking problem. Sure, we're making them put in the 2 or 3 spots for a condo, but they bring more people, they park on the street. We are not going to be able to solve the parking problem in this town. And you can ask the very first commissioner in this town that he asked about parking. We will not solve all the parking problems. You have a parking problem right now. Every one of you businesses out there, you have that problem now. So to think that we shouldn't do anything because we're going to have a parking problem, that doesn't make sense to me. We're still going to have a parking problem. We're going to help it. We're going to alleviate some of it. This is a net gain in parking for that area between the bump outs and the parking lot. What I would like to do is invite you, if you didn't see it, well, I know the majority of you did not. Before you leave, come up here and look at these boards. This board is a picture board of downtowns that have been done. There's another one sitting here on the platform. I will move over here. I want you to look at the possibility of what we're talking about, of what that downtown area will look like. Not just this. This is not showing you. These are pictures of downtowns that have been done. And I got to tell you, it's quite impressive. Jeff spoke of already some influx of businessmen buying over there because they've got the vision to see what can happen there. Okay? My best hope is to see what you see in these pictures here because I know it can happen. I know we'll get developers in. Those buildings that are there now, they're old. How long do you want them to last? They're 70 years old now, maybe 80, maybe 60. What do you want them, 100, 150? They're already old. They need to be replaced. We need to get strong enough business there, make the value well enough that the current owners or new developers and owners will come in, buy them, tear them down, and build new development stores in there because it's a vibrant, thriving area. But please, look at these pictures. If you're unsure what we're talking about, they will tell you exactly what we're talking about that can be in this town. So, I gotta tell you, I think you would be very proud to ride down New Jersey Avenue on this picture board as opposed to what's there now. I will tell you this, the mayor did an interview back there almost probably a year ago now. and they took a shot. They were probably standing over by Leader Printers, and it was showing southbound across New Jersey Avenue. And I'm watching this on TV, and I'm looking, and I'm saying, "Oh my God, that looks horrible." Take a look at it from a few blocks down. It looks terrible. No offense. The buildings are old. There's not enough business. There's only so much people can do. I built that hardware store. I know what the business is over there. I know what it can do and be. And I know how long it takes to get enough money to fix up and do. And if you're not doing enough business, you can't fix up and create a beautiful business and store. Like I said earlier, there are issues in this for the business there now that they're going to have to do and fix their buildings decoration-wise, signage, all of that to improve that look. So it hasn't thought out. There's been a lot of work in this. But please, look at these pictures and you will know what we're talking about. Okay, I don't want you just thinking what's in your head, okay, from what we're saying. This is it. This is right here. Look at these picture boards. For that, I do want to thank you for coming. Have a happy holiday, and thanks for coming out on a very cold night.
Okay, real quick reminders. Make sure you check out the website, special projects page for any new renderings. There'll be future meetings. Grab the flyer if you're interested on the frequently asked questions about the one consumption license. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We'll see you all in the New Year.